Good. All right. Time being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Board of Health meeting to order. All members are present. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good job, guys.
Killed it. All right. To start our agenda this evening, our announcements from the Health Department. I will turn it over to our health agent for those announcements.
We have none.
Perfect. Very quick. Any questions? No. Perfect. All right. We'll move right into our agenda. We should be relatively brief. First item is a discussion of the new NEHA model body art regulations. We discussed, obviously, we're going to move to a public hearing. I just actually want to set a date for that. We only need at least 2 weeks. I want to give it a whole month if we could. I think we should just pick one of our upcoming meetings and roll with that, because clearly we have very short meetings. We can pull that off at the same time. I'd be negligent of my responsibilities if I didn't remind everybody that we don't have to do a public hearing on these things, but as I'm sure Chris reiterated last meeting, we really should. So I think my recommendation was going to be that our second meeting in January, which is the 20-something or other. Somebody can confirm for me. I know Katie pulled her phone out faster than I could. It's right after Martin Luther King Day. It might be a good opportunity, give some time to really publicize that, especially post-holidays.
13 or 20?
I
20?
believe it's the 27th.
Oh, this is Martin Luther King, so it would be 27.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's the 27th, unless I decide to do them back-to-back. But
Tentatively, it's the 27th.
tentatively it's the 27th. I think the way I'll word the motion, and we can fact-check ourselves, is I will make a motion that we will hold our public hearing for the model body art regulations on the second meeting in January.
I'll second.
Second from Jason. Any further discussion on that? No. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so we'll set that date. 14 days at least to advertise it. We will work with Abington News online. We'll get that out to where it needs to be, and especially invite our body art establishments to be here as well. Beautiful. Anything else on that before we move on? No? Wonderful. All right, next is a discussion regarding the private well regulations. This is at the request of our health agent, so I will let him kind of talk through what's going on there.
All right, so the board looked at these previously. These are updated model regulations for private wells. They were updated in February of 2023. I think the board went through these one at a time, trying to compare them to our current regs. They're almost identical. The main important changes is requiring any domestic wells, which are drinking water wells, to test annually for PFAS, and for irrigation wells to test annually for nitrates and E. coli, which isn't currently required. DPH is going to be requiring towns to have their well water checked within a certain diameter of existing or former landfills anyway. So this is just be getting ahead of that and getting residents to test their water. My concern as an environmental health officer, people that are using domestic water instead of the town supply because they're concerned about PFAS are probably getting much higher levels of PFAS in well water. But we have no way of knowing that unless, number one, they're testing, and number two, that testing is being reported to our office so we can figure out where problems are in town. So, and with irrigation wells, if you're not checking for nitrates or E. coli, anybody that drinks from that water, when they're out doing gardening or spraying it on their yard, E. coli is extremely contagious, can make people very sick. It's something we should be checking for annually just to make sure we're not spraying it all over our yards. So what you guys want to do with that, the model regs are model regs, and then there's a section at the back of stuff the board should consider. If you guys want to read over that and decide what you want to do, that'd be awesome. That's my ask.
I think if a recommendation personally, I think I'd like to make on this is that maybe first meeting in January, what we could do is take the water quality testing requirement section of the model regulation, insert them into the current regulations, take a vote on that in January, just so that way it looks clean. And then from there, we can decide in the future if we want to adopt the rest of it. But at least that way, our water quality testing requirements include PFAS, include the new standard, and aren't as outdated as they currently are. I believe we're looking at probably 15 years out of date at least on the current private well regs. So at least if that section's up to date, we know that that public health concern is being met, and then we can kind of adopt more from there as we do a little more in-depth on that. Chris, was there a expectation that DPH wants us to have this done?
No, we're just hearing the rumblings.
We're
that
getting
the tests
pressure?
are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
Okay.
be coming.
So that, I don't know if anybody's got any strong opinions one way or the other, but I think that's what I'd like to do to make that happen. Any,
Makes sense.
hearing no debate on that, I think I will work with Chris. We'll just build it into our current regulation and just have a draft of that one section that if we approve that, we'll insert into the current regulation. We'll move forward with that for now.
Great.
Perfect. All right, Chris, that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on the private well regs from anybody else? Any thoughts, concerns, idiosyncrasies? No? Okay. Beautiful. Vote to approve the minutes of December 2nd. Everyone should have a copy of those.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve from Susan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Katie. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I abstain. All right, those are
So
approved.
it's gonna be
301.
Thank you.
Health agent report.
Everybody should have a copy of that. For inspections since the last meeting, Dunkin's on Center Ave and Bedford Street, Honeydew, Starbucks, Target, and the Target Snack Bar, which I don't know why it's separate from the store, but, so those were all inspected, no issues at any of those, no priority violations noted. No major complaints filed in the office recently. It's getting colder out, so the mice and rats are hiding, I guess. Training conferences attended on the 4th. Did a retail tobacco inspection training. The 10th was a reduced oxygen packaging webinar, which, in case anyone remembers, reduced oxygen packaging was the variance that we granted for Terra Nosa for vacuum packing. Attended a MSPHA training hub session. That's just basically a Randolph-based group of towns that are in a training hub for local public health. And it was on inspections. And then on the 16th, which was today, model tobacco regulations update. So the board recently updated tobacco regulations. There have been some additional changes to that. They just brought us up to date on it. I can get that information to you guys. It's nothing radical from what you last passed, but
Anything that came out of that you recommend that we look at?
no, not, there's a little just clarification in some language, but in definitions, but nothing like.
Nothing new in line.
Yeah, it was mostly aimed, if people haven't updated their regs, this was additional, but since we're up to date, at least since 2023, there was nothing major in there. And that is it.
Okay. Any questions for the health agent?
Thank you, Chris.
No.
Thank you. Public comment? No? All right.
You guys don't have any questions? Not one?
Not even one? No? It's okay. Correspondence. Does anyone have any correspondence to share?
I do. I got an email from a community member, and it kind of hashes back to the nip bottle ban. I'll just read out the portion that's applicable, if that's okay, and then we can kind of chat about it. So he said, I'm also writing about another issue. I believe it was earlier in the year that Abington had the yes or no vote on the liquor businesses not allowing the sales of nips as they lead to trash buildup on the side of the road. I was there that night of the vote, and initially I was going to vote no, but then I heard you speak and I voted yes. The measure did not pass, but I have been thinking about it on and off. How about something like a happy medium? And then his thoughts were that some people in Abington want to outlaw the sales of nips as it leads to a buildup of trash on the roads, but the liquor stores, of course, in Abington don't want to outlaw nips as it may hurt business. I'm not saying I have a solution, but I think I might have something. How about community trash cans and bins in the streets of Abington? If people see nip bottles and more in the street, hopefully the trash cans and bins will lead people to pick up the trash and throw it in the trash. As I wrote, I'm not sure if this will help reduce trash, but I wanted to throw this out as a possible solution. If we proceed, maybe we could do further things like specific areas where the most trash is and put the cans and bins there. Private and or public funding, research to see if this happens in other communities in the country and if it works, a town hall meeting to see if we get public support, and then support from mass politicians and more. Let me know if you would like to look into this further. I had written back to him and I said, my perspective was that a lot of the trash that's built up on the side of the road was from cars, from like motor vehicles. And so they're not gonna like stop the car to put them in the wastebasket. So a lot of it would fall to like good citizens picking up the nip bottles and putting them in the garbage. But I didn't know, like, we don't have public trash bins around Abington, right? Except for at, like, they're at the school by the high school field with a recycle bin there. But are there, like, I can't ever recall seeing them maybe over by Beaverbrook Playground, like the wood one over
The
there.
one at like the little Libby Park there, like across the street from me.
Okay.
They're all over the place.
They all are over
Yeah.
the place.
But it would add to our tonnage.
I
We're
know
not
Yeah.
contracted for them,
Yeah.
except for in the areas that we,
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
already exist.
But,
Yes.
and this one that I was just referencing, and I only chose that one because it's like right outside my door all the time. If it wasn't in this nice sturdy little receptacle, it'd be falling over.
Right.
It gets overfull, the
Yeah.
trash ends up all over the road, and so it really defeats the purpose.
Right. So they
Yeah.
do exist. They're just kind of few and far between, but it would be a huge cost expenditure to include it. Is that Park and Rec that takes care of those ones?
You're certainly welcome to ask them.
DPW? Why'd you say it like that?
We have had some conversations back and forth when there's been a request for recycling bins at Highland Grove. And
Yeah.
it comes to who you're gonna pay to go empty them,
I see.
and getting vehicles in there to do it, so,
And getting the vehicles in there to do it.
yep.
Do the current liquor store businesses have trash cans outside of all of their buildings, I wonder?
They do, and I know the owner of Abington Liquors offered, if it was, his idea was if it was really a burden for the community to have these nip bottles as trash, he was willing to hire somebody part-time to go within like a mile radius of the store picking up nip bottles. And
Wow.
that's up to him to do that. I thought that was very gracious, but,
Very gracious.
you know, I don't think the board could reasonably regulate that, so.
no.
The putting out new trash barrels.
Well, so, I mean, as far as the trash barrels, we're getting into a thing where it's probably on the chief procurement officer to try and contractually make that work, and we are not that person, so.
Okay.
We can't do anything about that here, unfortunately.
So it would be.
We can make a
to the
request,
town.
or you as an individual could. but-
Okay, cool. I
That's-
just wanted, I had questions.
Yeah, no,
I've
and
got
that's, I
answers.
mean,
Very good.
it's-
You know, I'm very passionate about the nip bottle ban. I'm not shy about that, so, very good.
Any other correspondence, things to share? No? All right. With that, we're at the end of our agenda. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone in the new year, either virtually or in person here. And thank you, everybody, for what we've done in 2024, and look forward to a very good 2025 of regulating and public healthing and all things that fall under that umbrella. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Susan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is unanimous. We are adjourned.